You want to let him talk about himself.
All right.
Sorry for being late. Got lost a couple times. Okay, yeah, my name is James Hill. I'm a combat veteran and served in Vietnam. And I want to plagiarize some stuff that I believe in. It says there has been 1.8 million service members who have been awarded the Purple Heart, a medal that recognizes individuals who are injured or killed in combat or other military hostilities. Memorial Day is a holiday to honor those who gave their lives for our country, but it has become a day for families to get together for parades, barbecues, take these glasses off, read these glasses off, drinks, and discounts. Our military families, such as the American Legion, the VFW, and all other more military organizations, put flags on the veterans' graves all over the world every Memorial Day to honor those who have passed on. And that's what we're here for. It says, to many Americans, Memorial Day is the unofficial first day of summer. For you and me, it is a day of remembrance, when we honor our friends and fellow warriors who made the ultimate sacrifice of our nation and our freedom. And that was from the VAV. Okay, about me. I was in combat in Vietnam. I joined the Marines in 1968, right out of high school. Me and my best friend went in on the buddy system. And when I got to Okinawa in January of 1969, I found out that my brother was already in Vietnam. He had got drafted, and he lived in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I lived in Plainfield, New Jersey. You know, so I got this bright idea to get him out of there because I didn't want to get him killed. You know, and so I signed some paperwork and I went over to Vietnam while he was there, but I didn't sign the right paperwork. You know, young, didn't know what I was doing. I just know I didn't want my brother to get killed. And so he was in 80 miles south of Saigon when I was in the combat area, 30 miles south of Da Nang, South Vietnam, and I was fighting 24/7. Come to find out, he was a military policeman on a helicopter base, and he was working an 8-hour day shift in Vietnam, which I had never heard of. But I went to go see him, and he found out, and he told me, "Stupid, why did you sign that paperwork?" Because I wanted to get you out, I didn't want you to get killed, even though you were 2 years older than me. And so, after staying down there with him for about a week, I went back to my unit and told my commanding officer that my brother was here, and he said, okay. He pulled my orders, and he wouldn't send me back out to the bush, which is the field. We call it the bush in the Marines. And he sent me back out. He kept me in the rear. And so while I was there, I started identifying the bodies of my friends who were being killed out in the field. So what I had to do, I had to take a helicopter to Newark, New Jersey. I had to take a helicopter to Da Nang and at the morgue, and before they could send the bodies home, I had to identify, and that was real stressful for me doing that. You know, seeing the guys that I served with being killed and then being sent home to their families, and so that is part of my what you call PTSD, if you know what that is. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. And so after 45 days, my orders came back from the Pentagon here in the United States telling me what I had done. When I signed that paper, I waived my right to go over there, and while my brother was there. And so there was nothing I could do about it. So I was glad to go back out to the field doing the fighting. And because in the rear is where I had got wounded the first time, the mortar round came in and got us. So I didn't really trust being in my rear area. But I felt safe out in the field, you know, because I could help fight, you know, the enemy, which was the Viet Cong and the NVA soldiers. And so I was glad to go back out there. And so in the course, I got wounded 2 times more from the first time I got wounded in February of 1969. I had a head wound, and I went in on the buddy system, and what happened was when I got hit, I went to the hospital, and after 9 days in the hospital, my best friend who I went on the buddy system with got shot in the arm, and he came through there, but we didn't see each other, and I didn't know till after I got back home that we passed each other and didn't see each other. So, you know, he went back home after being shot, and I came back home, and he was strung out on drugs when I got home from Vietnam in January of 1970, so I still had more time to do. And so I went down to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, in January of 1970. Well, all we doing was riot duty, because a lot of the universities were rioting at the time. And so every 30 days we had to stay on riot duty, you know, and we could be anywhere in the country within 24 hours to back up the National Guard, and there was 2,000 of us Marines doing that. So we didn't really get any furlough or anything like that. And so I started to join the state police here in the state of New Jersey just to get my early out. And what that was all about is that I didn't have enough time to do a second tour in Vietnam, because I had to spend at least a year back in the States and then go back over. But I had joined it for 3 years. And so they offered me an early out, and that's when I got an early out. And I started running, got into drugs. 1970, I started using drugs when I got out in June, and I used drugs all the way up to 1986. In that course, I had 2 children. They're grown now, and now I got about 4 or 5 grandchildren, you know. And so in 1982, I went to the VA hospital for my drug problem, and I got clean in 1982, and I haven't used drugs in 35 years. On May the 12th. I'm rated 100% through the VA. I spent 22 years in the post office and blew out both my knees, and I retired on a medical discharge from the post office, and I have 100% disability from the VA hospital for being wounded in combat, and I'm eligible for a Purple Heart, you know, which I got for being shot. I'm being wounded twice, you know, and so when I retired from the post office, I went to the VA hospital and started volunteering. And since 2005, I've been a volunteer at Lyons VA Hospital, and that just ended about 2 years ago. So, you know, I have an office in Plainfield where I live at, where I help veterans do claims and stuff like that, you know, and that's what I do now. I volunteer, I help veterans the best I can, and retired. You know, I'm living a retired life. You know, I never thought I would, you know. After being in drugs for so long, I never thought I would be able to retire, and I did. I got a job, and I retired, you know, and now I'm helping to raise my grandkids, you know. And basically, what I try to do is give back to the veterans community, and that's what I'm all about, giving back to the veterans community, because they helped me when I was out there, you know. So anything that I can do for the veterans community, I will do it, such as volunteer. I belong to every organization. I'm a life member of the VFW, the American Legion, Marine Corps League, the other ones, all the other ones. I'm a life member of all of them. And it keeps me very busy, because all I have is grandkids, you know, and I do the best that I can to live a day at a time, you know, and I'll end it here. I want to thank you all for inviting me here. I'm not a long speaker, but I want to thank you for inviting me here, and this is the time that I remember the people that died, you know, and this is what this is all about for me, remembering those that didn't come back home from Vietnam, World War II, World War I, Korean conflict, Afghanistan, and Iraq, you know, and that's what it's all about. And like I said, this is for those that didn't come back, and this is for those that are still fighting the war, such as myself, post-traumatic stress. And I thank you for allowing me to come here.